Imagine you're a young American in 1961, walking into a Dodge dealership. Your eyes land on a strange little car with a V-shaped grille and a slightly odd presence. Not a Valiant, not a Dart, it's a Dodge Lancer. And you wonder, what on earth is this thing?
Daddy, chill.
The 1960s were a time of bold experiments, daring designs, and cars that came and went in the blink of an eye. Among them, the 1961 to 62 Dodge Lancer was one of the quickest to be forgotten, but also one of the most fascinating. This compact wasn't just a renamed Valiant, as many assumed. It was Dodge's attempt to break into the booming small car market, carrying the weight of high expectations and pressure from the dealership network. Today, let's revisit this oddball of a car, a machine once seen as a beacon of hope, only to be left behind before the race even began. To understand why the Dodge Lancer came into existence, we have to go back to the late 1950s, a time when the booming American auto market began to shake. 1955 marked a sales peak, but just a few years later, the US economy slipped into recession. Consumers started turning away from large, bulky, fuel-hungry cars. Instead, they looked for smaller, more efficient, easier-to-drive vehicles. On top of that, a wave of imported cars, especially the Volkswagen Beetle, was sweeping across America, pushing domestic automakers to respond. What followed was a compact car boom from Detroit's Big Three. Ford launched the Falcon. GM countered with the Chevrolet Corvair, Buick Special, Oldsmobile F-85, and Pontiac Tempest. Chrysler entered the game with the Plymouth Valiant in 1960. Initially, the Valiant was sold across both Plymouth and Dodge dealerships, creating distribution confusion. By 1961, Chrysler decided to separate the dealer networks. Dodge now needed its own compact car to compete and maintain sales volume. That's when the Dodge Lancer was born, based on the Valiant platform, but with entirely new sheet metal. While other automakers took the route of mini-luxury styling to elevate their compacts, Chrysler chose the opposite. They opted for a bold, unconventional design, almost weird, to ensure that neither the Lancer nor the Valiant would be mistaken for anything else on the road. But behind that daring decision was another, less obvious but equally powerful force that drove the birth of the Lancer, Dodge's dealership network. As soon as Chrysler finalized the separation of Dodge dealerships, a major problem became clear. These dealers had no compact car to sell. At a time when the market was going crazy for small cars, this was practically a death sentence. It wasn't the customers pushing Dodge, it was the dealers, demanding a competitive model to go up against the Falcon or Comet. In the auto industry, dealers aren't just sales channels, they're the frontline force driving volume. No product to sell means no showroom traffic, no buzz, and quickly declining revenues. Initially, Chrysler's Valiant was sold across both Plymouth and Dodge dealers, but this created brand confusion. Once the company committed to splitting its dealer networks, Dodge was left with a glaring gap. The pressure from this newly independent distribution arm forced Dodge into immediate action. With no time to engineer a brand new compact from scratch, Dodge took the Valiant's platform, redesigned its outer skin, and gave it a fresh name, the Dodge Lancer. But the Lancer didn't emerge from a master plan or strategic vision. It was a quick-fix solution to a very loud problem from the dealer floor. And that hasty birth would end up shaping its uncertain journey in the years ahead. It's hard to believe that the man behind the Dodge Lancer's design was none other than Virgil Exner, Chrysler's legendary design chief and the mastermind of the iconic forward look. that electrified car design in 1957. But by 1961, it seemed the magic wand had lost its precision. The Lancer was meant to stand out, to never be mistaken for anything else on the road. And it did just that, though not always in a good way. With its long hood, short deck proportions, and a mild fastback rear end, the Lancer looked like no other compact of its time. While most American cars still followed the traditional three-box design, clearly defined hood, cabin, and trunk, the Lancer broke those visual expectations. Its front end was unusually long, the body was bulbous, and the rear was abruptly cut short, making the whole car appear awkwardly unbalanced. Some said it looked like 3 different design teams worked on it, without ever seeing each other's sketches. And yet one can't ignore the fact that Exner and his team were ahead of their time. The smooth curves and semi-fastback silhouette would become popular design cues years later. The problem wasn't the vision, it was the timing and the extremity. And when that odd styling was placed on the familiar bones of a Valiant, many people assumed the Lancer was nothing more than a rebadge job. But the truth might surprise you. The Lancer was far more than a simple rebrand. It featured unique styling, bodywork, and structure. Chrysler had genuinely invested in creating a car with its own identity. While it shared a chassis and drivetrain with the Plymouth Valiant, the Dodge Lancer wore an almost completely new skin. Except for the roof and rear doors on the 4-door sedan or wagon, every other exterior panel was bespoke. From the hood, grille, and front fenders to the doors, trunk lid, and rear quarters. A clever design trick helped Chrysler hide shared components. On the Lancer, a prominent body crease ran from the front fender to midway through the front door, then curved and terminated. Unlike the Valiant, where the line continued across the full length of the car, this break allowed Chrysler to reuse the Valiant's rear door while maintaining visual distinction. The Lancer also featured its own trim hierarchy, the base 170 and the upscale 770. Differences were clear: chrome accents, badges, interior appointments, and exterior trim. The 770 models, for example, had a small emblem ahead of the Lancer script on the door and additional brightwork. In short, Chrysler didn't just slap a new badge on an old body. They made a concerted effort to give Dodge dealers a compact with real personality. But a car isn't just about sheet metal or exterior styling, it's also about the experience it offers inside. And stepping into the cabin, the Lancer delivered yet another surprise, this time a pleasantly unexpected one. Although it was marketed as a budget compact, the Lancer's interior never felt stripped bare. Chrysler managed to craft a cabin that was minimal but neat, practical, and surprisingly well-equipped for daily use. One standout feature was the dashboard, which was pushed far toward the windshield. This opened up knee space and gave the interior an airy, roomier feel than its dimensions suggested. The traditional round gauge cluster was basic but comprehensive. A large central speedometer, flanked by indicators for coolant temperature, fuel level, and electrical voltage. Features that many compact rivals at the time didn't even offer. Another plus was that the Lancer came equipped with an alternator instead of the older generator setup. This was a big step forward in terms of reliability, ensuring more consistent electrical performance, especially in stop-and-go city driving. While the materials weren't upscale or flashy, the fit and finish gave off a sense of sturdy cleanliness. But the interior experience was only part of the story. What mattered more was how the car actually drove and what kind of engine sat beneath the hood. And when it came to the engine, the Dodge Lancer showed another surprising strength, not in horsepower, but in remarkable reliability. Under the hood, the Lancer featured Chrysler's legendary slant-six engine, a design tilted at 30 degrees to lower the center of gravity and maximize engine bay space. Two versions were available, a 170 cubic inch making 101 horsepower, and a larger 225 cubic inch offering 145 horsepower. Some 225 versions from 1961 to 1962 even used an aluminum block, 65 pounds lighter than the iron version, reducing weight but facing production issues and inconsistent durability. After a few years of experimentation, Chrysler discontinued the aluminum version. On paper, the Slant 6 wasn't powerful, but in real life, it was incredibly dependable. Its simple layout, easy-to-access mechanical lifters, and tough construction meant it could run past 200,000 miles with only basic maintenance. Even when the valve train produced its signature tick-tick sound from lack of adjustment, the engine just kept going, without complaint. The Slant 6 didn't roar like a V8, nor thunder like a Hemi. It was more like a quiet old soldier, faithfully completing its duty, day after day. It didn't make the Lancer the fastest car on the road, but its simplicity, durability, and fuel economy made it a beloved choice for practical buyers. But mechanical strength didn't just come from the engine. The bigger difference lay in how Dodge designed the chassis, where the Lancer truly showed its ambition to go beyond the limits of a budget car. The Lancer used a unibody construction, a cutting-edge solution for the early 1960s. This unibody structure helped reduce vehicle weight, increase torsional rigidity, and improve sound insulation, giving the car a more solid and quiet ride. But the real highlight was the front suspension system with torsion bars. Instead of using coil springs like most cars at the time, the Lancer featured torsion bars, twisted steel rods that better absorbed shock and distributed forces more effectively. Combined with a semi-elliptical leaf spring rear axle, this suspension setup delivered strong stability and superior body control in the compact segment. The Lancer's handling was described as firm, neutral, and not overly soft. While it wasn't a sports car, the Lancer inspired more confidence in sharp corners or rough roads than many similarly priced American compacts. The unibody also reduced body sway, something rarely seen in compact cars of that era. Was Dodge ahead of its time, or simply trying too hard to be different? Either way, the torsion bar system would go on to become a technical hallmark of Chrysler for more than a decade. Despite its advanced chassis, reliable engine, and distinctive design, the Dodge Lancer failed to achieve commercial success. And the reason wasn't product quality, but rather a mix of branding missteps, pricing strategy, and Chrysler's own internal confusion. When it debuted in 1961, the Lancer had to compete against well-established compact cars like the Ford Falcon, Chevrolet Corvair, and Rambler American. Dodge was the latecomer. And worse, the Lancer's starting price was $50 to $100 higher than its rivals, a significant gap in the early 60s. Compounding the issue was its similarity to the Plymouth Valiant. Consumers were puzzled. Why pay more for a nearly identical car with a different badge? Plymouth dealers were already comfortable selling the Valiant, while Dodge dealers had yet to earn credibility in the compact segment. Even with corporate backing through ads and incentives, the Lancer only sold about 74,000 units in 1961, far behind the Falcon and Corvair, both of which exceeded 200,000 units that year. In 1962, sales dropped even further. By the end of 1962, Chrysler officially ended the Lancer experiment. It was a cold but unsurprising move. By then, the compact market was brutally competitive, and the Lancer couldn't find its footing. After pulling the Lancer from the game in late 1962, Chrysler didn't back down. They were already preparing a comeback, this time with a new strategy and a new name: the Dodge Dart. In reality, the Dart was an evolution of the Lancer's platform, larger, roomier, and styled more in line with market trends. Dodge no longer aimed to elevate the compact segment like the Lancer had tried. Instead, they focused on efficiency, a competitive price point, the proven reliability of the Slant 6 engine, and spacious interior comfort. The result? Dart became one of Dodge's most successful compacts of the 1960s. As for the name Lancer, it was shelved for more than 2 decades before being resurrected in 1985, this time as a front-wheel drive compact based on a Mitsubishi platform. But this new Lancer had no ties to the original 1961-62 model and quietly faded away in the early 90s. Today, the Dodge Lancer is a peculiar chapter in American automotive history, not known for sales or innovation, but remembered as a bold experiment during an era of transition and risk-taking. The Dodge Lancer wasn't a success, at least not by market standards, but in the world of classic car enthusiasts and fans of the experimental era, it's a quiet symbol. A car born at the wrong time, burdened with too much hope, yet still carving out a small place in the story of American motoring. Do you remember the first time you saw a Lancer on the road? What did it feel like? If you've ever seen, driven, or owned one, share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoy forgotten automotive history like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss any of our journeys through time.